All right, well, it's 7 o'clock, so let's get this show started. Well, good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us. I'm Cindy Erickson, Tour Coordinator for Westworld Tours and Women Explorers. I'll be facilitating the presentation this evening, and Leanne is joining us. Leanne House is our Director at Westworld Tours and Women Explorers. Welcome, Leanne.
Hi, everyone.
I think I can speak for the both of us when I say we have a passion for exploring the globe, and we love designing tours to help everybody check off their bucket list. So before we begin things and jump into our Peru presentation, I have a couple of things I'd like to mention first. We have everybody on mute this evening, but your input is always appreciated, and we welcome your questions at any time throughout the presentation. So to ask a question, you can type them into the Q&A box located at the bottom of your screen, or if you've joined us from Facebook, you can type your question into the comments section, and we will answer as many questions as we can get to at the end of the presentation. You should see a poll pop up on your screen right away here. And please let us know if you would like to sign up for our email newsletter. You can sign up for just the Women Explorer Tours or both Women Explorers and Westworld Tours. And if you're already getting it, that's great. From Facebook, you can hit the message button and send us your email address, and we'll make sure that you get added to the list. You'll receive invites to future presentations as well as timely information on any of our new tours. You won't be inundated with emails, and you can unsubscribe at any time. There may be a few more emails than normal right now as we are going through our online presentation series, but you can unsubscribe at any time. So we'll just let this go and people answer for a little bit here. Okay, I think we can end that poll. Thank you very much. Okay, so many of you may not be familiar with Women Explorers. We are a division of Westworld Tours, one of Western Canada's premier tour companies that's been serving Canadians from coast to coast with escorted travel throughout North America and around the world for over 20 years. Women Explorers believes travel is more than just seeing places, it's about experiencing them. Traveling is about nurturing your senses, getting off the beaten path, spending time with locals, savoring traditional dishes, and exploring the landscape, touching the history around you, and so much more. Delivering a highly personalized and rewarding travel experience, our fully escorted small group itineraries are designed by women for women of all ages and backgrounds that share an adventurous spirit. Singles, sisters, friends, family members, and of course, the new friends you'll make along the way. You can choose your own room, you can bring a friend along to share, or you can benefit from our Women Explorers Guaranteed Room Share, where you are paired with another woman to avoid the dreaded single supplement. Our soft adventure style tours are fashioned to enrich the lives of women by exposing them to new and exciting experiences through travel and friendship. There is no need to be physically fit to enjoy our tours. However, being physically active is important to get the best experience possible. It might be hard to believe it until you've experienced it for yourself, but getting to know women with a common interest can be as rewarding as the travel itself. We invite you to soak up the history, mystery, culture, nature, and adventure with us as we explore the globe together. Today's world has changed, but Westworld Tours remains committed to traveler safety and providing peace of mind while traveling. While COVID-19 continues to change our environment, we are doing all that we can to adapt to the new requirements and expectations. We've introduced enhanced health and safety protocols to keep our guests safe while traveling with us. The well-being of our travelers and our team have always been and always will be our primary concern. As many of you may already know, we are proud to have provided refunds in full for all of our travelers that were affected by a tour that was canceled. After all, it is your money. You should decide when and where to travel, not us. So you can also refer to our website for our most up-to-date COVID-19 travel-related policies. It seems to be an ever-changing situation. So we do encourage you to check there for our latest and up-to-date policy. So before we jump into Peru, we have a great lineup of upcoming presentations for the month of September. And really, if there are any tours that you would like to see virtual presentations on, pardon me, or added to our lineup, please just drop us a comment in the Q&A box, or you can always send us an email. We love to hear from you. So for our upcoming presentations in September, we have our Amish Country Tour, our Westworld Tours. That'll happen on September 1st at 7 p.m. And our brand new Southern Charms Tour, which will be September 8th at 7 p.m. It's a brand new exciting tour where we're going to be traveling through the Carolinas, through Georgia, and making our way into Florida. We're really excited about that one. And our Branson Quilters, for those quilters out there, we have our presentation on September 15th at 7 o'clock p.m. And then rounding up September 22nd, we have our Westworld Tours Newfoundland and Labrador Tour. And all of our presentations will be happening at 7 p.m. in the month of September. So Peru, Andes and the Amazon, on my bucket list. Let me tell you, I have yet to get there. Unfortunately, it was a week before departure in 2020 of April when we had to make the decision that we can no longer travel because the world closed down. So we're so excited to be offering this tour again in 2022. So we invite you to join us next spring, April 4th to the 20th on our Women Explorers Peru, Andes to the Amazon tour, as we embark upon an exhilarating journey into mystical Peru. You'll experience local traditions, you'll explore breathtaking canyons, you'll marvel at the majesty of Lake Titicaca, which is my background, by the way. That is Lake Titicaca behind me. And then venture into the jungles of the Amazon, where we will conclude our tour with some exploring of the Amazon. We'll roam historic cities filled with culture, trek along the famous Inca Trail to the ancient lost city of the Incas, and experience nature like you've never seen it before. As you can see, there are many inclusions on this tour. All accommodations, transportation, including flights within Peru, activities and attractions listed in the tour are also included, except for one optional, which Leanne is going to tell you about a little bit later. We do have some free time built into the tour, and our local guide will be more than happy to make suggestions and help arrange things to fill your time if you wish. We've included daily breakfast and some lunches and dinners throughout, but dining in Peru is very affordable and there's so many great options to choose from. I keep hearing from Leanne about one place in particular, which I'm sure she's going to bring up in this presentation. She brings it up continuously, so I can't imagine she would. So let's get going here. Leanne, we're all excited to hear what you've got to tell us about Peru. We know you've been there, and yeah, take it away.
Perfect. Thank you, Cindy. So to begin, we're just going to show you a map of Peru. It will familiarize yourself with where you're traveling to. So Peru is a country in South America that is surrounded on three sides by Chile, Bolivia, Colombia, and Ecuador. On the arid Pacific coast, you'll find Lima, the capital city, with a preserved colonial center. From from Lima, we fly to Arequipa, which is located on the left-hand side of your screen on the map with the mountain icon just below Lima and the Llama. And we'll spend a couple days here acclimatizing to the altitude before traveling through high mountain passes and into the Colca Canyon. Then it's on to Lake Titicaca, which straddles the border between Peru and Bolivia. And you can see that on the lower right-hand side of the map. From Puno, we travel north passing through more high mountain passes before arriving in Cuzco. And Cuzco is known for the archaeological remains and Spanish colonial architecture. The region around Cuzco includes a sacred valley, the Inca Trail, and of course, Machu Picchu, an ancient Incan city high in the Andes Mountains. And last but not least, Peru is home to a section of the Amazon rainforest located in several areas throughout Peru. The region that we will be traveling to can be seen just above and to the right of Cuzco on the map. And we'll spend a few nights here before returning to the coastal city of Lima, which is where the churros are that Cindy was talking about. They're the best, so you have to make sure to check those out. So upon arrival into Lima, generally it's a late flight into Lima, but our hotel is right across the road, really from the airport. There's a little walkway that goes across, so we'll hop over to the hotel for the evening, get a good night's sleep, and we get to sleep in a little bit before we hop on a flight over to Arequipa, also known as the White City, as you can kind of see from the photos. So Arequipa is a stunning volcano-ringed colonial city in southwestern Peru, and it has so much to offer, from delicious local dishes, lush manicured plazas, cobblestone streets, and some of the best sunsets in the area. So you will be traveling from sea level in Lima, where you fly into initially, to Arequipa, which is 2,328 meters above sea level. So you will have your afternoon the first day upon arrival in Arequipa to acclimatize to the altitude. And Cindy and I were actually just chatting about this, but because I thought I would get all Peruvian here, and I'm having a glass or a cup of coca tea. So in all of your hotels, you'll likely find coca tea available in the lobby area. And coca tea is famous throughout Peru. It is a herbal tea made using the raw or dried leaves of the coca plant. And it's actually not too bad tasting. And it is commonly, you'll see many of the locals chewing the actual leaves, as it is believed to suppress hunger, thirst, pain, fatigue, and it helps with altitude sickness. So when I did the 4-day Inca Trail, most of our porters were actually chewing the coca leaves, and this helps them, get going as fast as they do. It's unbelievable how fast these porters can go. So I think that is part of it. They say that is what helps.
Leanne, sorry, I want to interrupt you.
Yeah.
You said you wanted to get all Peruvian this evening. So I noticed you're wearing a Peruvian sweater there.
Yes, and I will talk about my sweater a little bit later on when we visit the city or the town that I bought it from. Yeah, so. Okay, so during a guided walking tour in Arequipa, we will visit the monastery of Santa Catalina, and you can see a picture in the top left-hand and bottom right of your screen. The convent was built in 1579 and is located in the historical center of Arequipa. It served as a cloister for Dominican nuns from the 16th to 18th centuries and still houses a small religious community today. The complex is built from volcanic sillar stone, and sitting in a volcanic area that has a large amount of seismic activity, the building is starting to deteriorate, so you will notice that a little bit. We also visit the Church of La Campana, translating to the Church of the Company, which is located just off the main square, and you can see a photo of it in the middle of your screen. It dates back to the 1650s and still has the original stone flooring and beautiful columns. It's an amazing facade, and patio are made with finely carved stone and are a delight for the eyes. As with all Peruvian cities, Arequipa has a lovely central square, Plaza de Armas. It is entirely made from white stone, the sillar stone, which is the same stone that they used to build much of the town, which is why it's nicknamed the White City. Plaza de Armas is a relaxing and refreshing environment to sit and relax while taking in the beauty of this town. Okay, so as we move on from Arequipa, we have a very early start one morning as we travel to Chivay, which is the capital of the Colca Valley. So we continue driving to the highest part of the canyon known as the Condor or Cross of the Condor. This is where we hope to catch a glimpse of the Andean condor, one of the world's largest flying birds. And you will have the option of joining a local guide for a short hike along the canyon's edge. It's an enjoyable trek for everyone and will offer spectacular views of the canyon walls. We will also be making some photo stops on our way back to Chevet, and there are some incredible pre-Incan ruins, terraces and ruins along the way. So carrying on from Chevet, we will arrive in Yankee, where you will have the chance to enjoy hot spring pools, which are located right next to the Coco River, as you can see in the picture on the right-hand side in the middle there. And so you have these beautiful views of the Coco River and of the canyon. Or if you don't want to do the hot springs, you can visit the Indian market and shop for some souvenirs. So the next day we will be traveling a long day of travel as well. So make sure you get a good night's rest as we are still at quite a high altitude. And we will be making our way from our hotel in Chevet to Puno. There will be plenty of stops along the way, so you'll be able to get out and stretch your legs and take some photos of the stunning scenery we see. And I'm sure you'll see llamas, so which is one of my favorites. So you'll be able to see those along the way and get some photos as well. So today is an exciting day. I really enjoyed my time when I visited Lake Titicaca. It's the world's highest navigable lake. And so this day, we travel by luxury speedboat to one of the most scenic spots on the lake, where we'll start our kayaking trip. And so don't worry, you don't have any previous kayaking experience. You'll get a briefing and basic paddling instruction from our experienced guides. And so as you paddle, observe the sandy beaches, the vastness of the lake, and you can even see the snow-capped mountains of Bolivia on the other side. It is quite a large lake and very beautiful. You are still at quite a high altitude, but by the time we reach Puno, you should be adjusted with our few days in Arequipa and then traveling high along the way. So you should be good and ready for the paddle. And so once we reach the shores after our kayaking, a local family will welcome us with hot drinks and a lunch, which would be well deserved after that kayaking trip. And then it's back on the speedboat to visit some of the last authentic Uros Reed Islands. So if you don't know, the Uros Islands are a group of 70 man-made reed islands floating on the lake. Its inhabitants, the Uros tribe, predate Incan civilization and continue to hunt and fish on the plentiful land and waters they occupy, as they have for generations. Children are able to attend kindergarten on the islands where the school is located. The elementary schools are available on the islands. And the bottom middle photo is one that I took of a kids there was a soccer game going on while we were there, which was kind of fun because I can't imagine playing soccer on a really wobbly and waterbed-like feeling island. But
pretty challenging, yes.
Yeah, but they grow up there, so I'm sure it's second nature to them. But so with the older children, though, they will travel to the mainland for their school. And some of their income of the Uros tribe is earned through tourism. So this has brought a few modern conveniences to them, such as improved sanitary facilities and solar panels, which help reduce the risk of fire from open flames. So in the bottom right-hand corner, it shows a demonstration of how the Reed Islands are built. And I won't go into too much detail because obviously I'm not as good as a local telling you about it. But basically what happens is they are built with many layers of the totora reeds, and they're bundled and stacked, and then they're anchored in place with a rope and stakes that are driven into the bottom of the lake. So the islands can be maintained for actually up to 30 years by adding new layers of reeds once a week during the rainy season and less frequently during the dry season. The islands are actually really quite neat. As I said, it's like stepping onto a waterbed. So it's definitely a really unique experience and one that you have to experience when you're in Peru. And so most of these photos here are from my trip a few years ago. So you'll see island, the ladies dress up and they sing, and it's just really interesting. You can see inside their houses. They kind of show you inside and where they cook and things like that. So it's a really neat experience. Okay, so as we carry on from Puno, we will enjoy the scenery as we make our way to Cuzco. So enjoy some of the Incan and pre-Inca ruins along the way. We will stop at the Lithic Museum of Puca Puquera, located on a high plateau northeast of Puno. In this museum, you can find pottery and sculptures. And then the highest crossing that we will travel through that day will be the La Raya Pass. And from here, you will be able to see the famous Chimboya Glacier, where the Amazon River is born. And you will be able to get out and stretch your legs, take some photos of the beautiful landscape. And like I said earlier, make sure you grab a cup of coca tea if you're feeling the effects of altitude, because we are going to be passing quite high today. So just make sure you grab a cup at lunch or when it's offered. And that is said to help. And there are other ways that you can help with altitude sickness too, if that's the case, and we can talk about that a little bit later. So another stop that we will make is the archaeological site of Raki, as seen in the top left-hand corner of your screen. And our last stop will be at the Sistine Chapel of the Andes. This whitewashed church is eye-popping inside. It has a dazzling display of colorful murals, painted ceilings, and ornate gold leaf altar. The Spanish began constructing this Baroque church in the 16th century as they cemented their conquest over the Incan Empire. So now we've arrived into Cuzco, and you'll have your first night in Cuzco, and then the next day you will have a morning to relax before exploring the city. So by now you've come down in altitude a little bit, so you'll be ready to explore the city before we go out on our tour this afternoon. So your hotel in Cuzco is located within walking distance to the Plaza de Armas. And here you'll find lots of little shops, restaurants, as well as museums. There's a chocolate store down one of the little streets, and there's so much more to, and people watching is good here too. So, but it's a beautiful, as you can see with the photos, you have beautiful views, the cobblestone streets, and yeah, the plaza is just beautiful. So after your relaxing morning, we will do a city tour with a local guide and visit some of the most important archaeological sites in Cuzco. So our first stop is the Cuzco Cathedral, which is pictured in the top right-hand corner, and it is located in the Plaza de Armas. So you'll have seen that already in the morning when you're out exploring. It was built between the 1560s and 1654 and was the first Christian church to be built in Cuzco. In addition to its status as an official place of worship, it has become a major repository of Cuzco's colonial art. It also holds many archaeological artifacts and relics. The cathedral was designated as a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1983. And from there, we will walk to the Temple of the Sun. And here you will be able to compare and contrast the building methods of the Incan culture and Catholicism. This is a key spiritual center of the Incas, which leads to all four quarters of the Incan Empire. Then we will take a short drive outside of the city to the most majestic of the Incan sites, Sexy Woman. It is different in Spanish, but that's how they said it to tourists, so it was easy for us to say. So Sexy Woman, which is beautiful. So it has mysterious 200-ton monoliths, and you will be able to hear from a local guide before having time to explore on your own. And pictured on the left-hand side is Sexy Woman. So our other stops include Kenko to see the fascinating Incan altars, which you can see in the, which one here, the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. And Puca Puquera is a small circular Incan site, and Tambomche, which is a water temple with impressive water fountains thought to be used by the Incas for bathing. Okay, so we will show you a map here now. This is a map of the Sacred Valley. So we're traveling by private air-conditioned motor coach, and we start in Cuzco, as seen on the bottom blue of your screen. And we travel north towards Chinchero, then over to Moray and Maris before ending in Ollantaytambo. You will have some beautiful views of the Urumba River before you make your way to Ollantaytambo. And make sure to keep an eye out for the famous Sky Lodge suites. They're sleeping pods that cling to the granite slopes above the valley. So unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, depending, I guess, if you're afraid of heights, we do not sleep here, but they look pretty cool. So you'll have to make sure that you watch for that. So during our Sacred Valley tour, you will have the opportunity to visit some unique and beautiful sites. Our first stop is a small Andean village of Chinchero, home to the famous Peruvian weavers, and it's also believed to be the mythical birthplace of the rainbow. So here you'll get a demonstration of how they color and weave intricate designs from alpaca wool. And I just quickly want to show you, and I'm not sure how much you can see, but this is a blanket. So you can see the really nice weaves and intricate designs that they've done on the blanket there. And this is also the same area that I purchased my alpaca sweater, which is nice and soft and very warm. So they have all kinds of little souvenirs for sale, and blankets, sweaters, socks, all that kind of stuff, and very reasonably priced. So you'll see how they design it. You'll see how they get the colors. The colors are all from natural plants and things like that, leaves, and how they make the color. So a little fun fact, Peru actually has an enormous variety of potatoes. Around 400 or 4,000 species have been counted. They also successfully grow a wide variety of other crops, such as quinoa and other vegetables in the ancient terraces. Something you will likely notice as you're traveling through Peru is corn stands, where you can buy cooked corn, and you will notice the size of the cobs, and the kernels. You'll see those in the bottom middle picture on your screen. They are huge. They're enormous. It's actually quite interesting to see how big the kernels are. So from there, we will see a beautiful adobe church that was built in 1607. And it sits on the plaza overlooking the remains of an Incan palace. Towering in the background, you will have incredible views of snow-capped mountain range, along with its highest peak, Salcantay, dominating the western horizon. And this offers another popular trekking route down into Machu Picchu. So from Chinchero, we travel into Moray, which is an incredible archaeological site with unusual ruins. As you can see, the circular terraces on the right-hand side of the screen. So the purpose of these depressions is still uncertain, but their depth, design, and orientation with respect to wind and sun creates a temperature difference of as much as 15 degrees Celsius between the top and the bottom. And there are walking paths that you can use to tour the site. You can go not down into the terraces, but you can kind of go down and around them. And it's actually really quite interesting to see what they've done without any modern, tools. So we'll also visit the Maris salt mines, which have been used for centuries to mine in the Sacred Valley. And so here you'll be mesmerized by the naturally occurring salt mines that are still cultivated today. So you'll have time to check out the small shop that's offering some soothing bath salts and that are extracted right from those salt mines. So that's quite interesting too. So our last stop for the day, our Sacred Valley tour day, is in the town of Ollantaytambo. So here you'll have a guided tour of the massive Inca fortress with the large stone terraces on the hillside overlooking the village. This is one of the most important sun temples in the region. And so after checking out the fortress, you will check into your hotel for the evening, maybe wander down through the quaint little village. There's quite a few little restaurants to choose from for dinner. There's some shops that you can pick up last minute snacks or, lip chap or things like that prior to your trek tomorrow. Okay, so now you're going to see a map on your screen. Early start to the morning, traveling by train, and the tracks follow the Urubamba River until we reach kilometer 104. And here's where you'll begin your trek. So along the way, you'll see spectacular views of farmland, snow-capped mountains, and the mighty Urubamba River. So the river is one of the sources of the massive Amazon River. So it's very impressive to see, and it's beautiful. You will not be able to take enough photos of this beautiful valley. It's just incredible. So at kilometer 104, you will begin your breathtaking trek. Okay, so as we begin our trek, so once you get off the train, you'll set off to visit your first Incan site. You'll be given a short orientation about the historical Inca site, as well as a walking tour around it. And then you begin hiking upwards as you head for the classic Inca Trail. After 6 kilometers, you'll reach the most beautiful Inca site on the Inca Trail, which is called Winneweina and means forever young. And this is at 2,600 meters, and you are starting at about 2,000. So you are gaining some elevation there. And there are very few people that actually get the opportunity to see these elaborate water fountains, temples, agricultural terraces, because it is so far from Machu Picchu and you have to climb to get there. So it's a really unique opportunity to be able to do a one-day trek. And it provides you the perfect opportunity to explore and learn about the history of the Incas while you're trekking. And the backdrop of this of Winneweina is a dramatic cliff with beautiful mountains and the Urubamba River in the background. So when I went, I did the classic Inca Trail, which is the 4-day trek where we camp out along the way. And so this is one of the spots where we stayed overnight. So from Winneweina, a few minutes walk, you'll arrive at a campsite, which is used by the hikers that do the classic Inca Trail. So we stayed actually at this campsite when I went. And so here you'll have a hot homemade lunch, which has been freshly cooked by our chefs. So they carry all the food up the trail, and you'll be amazed if you see them going, the porters, how fast they can get up these trails. Like, it's unbelievable. They're machines. So it's really interesting. And if you're worried about the trail, take your time, explore, or take in the beauty. It's not a race. We're getting to Machu Picchu, and it's just take your time. Don't rush it. So once you've had a chance to eat and refill your water, have a little rest before we make the rest of our way to Machu Picchu. So from Winneweina and our campsite where we have lunch, we'll walk to the Sun Gate. From here, it's pretty flat, a little hilly, but nothing like kind of the climb that we've already done. And then you'll get your first picturesque landscape of the famous Machu Picchu. I also want to mention there are facilities at the Winneweina campsite to use. They are squat toilets, so just prepare yourself. And for the most part, they're clean, and it's definitely an experience that you need to have while you're in Peru. And so you'll be happy to know that we aren't there at night when the enormous bugs are hanging around. They were quite large, and it was quite interesting to see them all there when everyone was shining their lights to get to the bathroom. So. Okay, so you did it. You made it to Machu Picchu. So here's your first view from the Sun Gate of Machu Picchu. So after taking that once-in-a-lifetime photo, you'll be able to descend down into Machu Picchu. And one of the many advantages of the one-day trek is that by the time you reach Machu Picchu, it's late in the afternoon, and many of the day travelers have already left. So that pretty much leaves the whole area for you to explore without interruption. So take some photos, explore the area, and then we'll take a bus down to Aguas Caliente and head to your hotel. After that, we head to Indio Feliz for dinner. And this restaurant is considered to be have the best food in Aguas Caliente. So in the top right-hand corner and also the bottom left, you'll see kind of the switchbacks on the mountain. And that's the road that you take up from Aguas Caliente up to Machu Picchu. So there are buses and buses only that take you up to the to Machu Picchu and back down to town. So it's kind of interesting to see those roads too. So the next morning, we will get up early, catch the bus to Machu Picchu. Don't forget to bring your passports on this day. You will have them with you the previous day as well, but you won't be going through the entrance when we arrive into Machu Picchu. So make sure you bring your passports back with you the next day so you can get them stamped. Machu Picchu was designated as a UNESCO Heritage Site in 1983 and was also named one of the new 7 Wonders of the World in 2007. So during this guided tour, you will learn about this ancient settlement. Built in the 15th century and later abandoned, it is renowned for its sophisticated dry stone walls that fuse huge blocks without the use of mortar, intriguing buildings that play on astronomical alignments and panoramic views. Its exact former use still remains a mystery. So it is located at 2,430 meters above sea level, high in the Andes Mountains. Machu Picchu is Peru's most visited tourist destination, but it's also the most regulated. So only giving out a certain number of Inca Trail passes and entrances per day to help lessen the impact on the site and the trails. So that's really good to know. And we secure those passes ahead of time so we don't have to worry about not being able to get in. And unfortunately, most cities built by the Incan civilization were destroyed by the Spanish conquest, but Machu Picchu was actually in a hidden location. It was invisible from below, so it wasn't found. So this makes it one of the most well-preserved Incan sites and an archaeological gem. So after the guided tour, you'll have some time to explore Machu Picchu on your own, and you may choose to climb Haina Picchu Mountain. So this is the optional excursion that Cindy mentioned earlier. So this climb it's quite steep and narrow in sections, but once at the top, the views are breathtaking. And so if you're up to the challenge, I would highly recommend it. I did the climb, as you can see in the photo in the bottom left-hand corner. And the views from the top are incredible. And the photo in the bottom right-hand corner is one that I took from the top of Haina Picchu Mountain, overlooking Machu Picchu. It's just incredible. And, you're above the clouds, and it's a really, really neat climb. It is strenuous, and it is a little, scary if you're afraid of heights, but it is definitely doable. I saw people of all ages and fitness levels climbing Haina Picchu, so it's definitely doable. And the reward. So the hike takes approximately 1.5 hours to climb, give or take, depending on how long you want to spend at the top to enjoy the views. And then when you're ready and you've climb back down. And if you don't want to do the hike, then you're welcome to just explore Machu Picchu on your own, or you can take the bus down at any time and go back into Aguas Calientes, where we catch our train back to Ollantaytambo and then take a bus from there back to Cuzco. So they do have some little shops and a little market in Aguas Calientes. There's also a hot springs up the road a little bit. So there are some things that you can do if you don't want to trek or have some free time. So from Cuzco, we're flying into Puerto Maldonado. And as you can see on the map, we arrive into Puerto Maldonado before we begin our journey downriver to Posada Amazonas Lodge, where we'll spend the next few nights. So here we get to, after our trek and all the high altitude and all that kind of fun stuff, we get to kind of relax at the end of the tour and spend our days in nature with some peace and quiet, and just relax and enjoy the last few days we have. So you'll enjoy your first taste of the forest as you board the boat that takes you downriver to our lodge for the next 3 nights. After settling into the lodge, take a short walk to the canopy tower. And from the top, you can obtain spectacular views of the vast expanses of standing forest cut by the Tambopata River, winding through the middle. Now and then you can see toucans, parrots, or macaws flying against the horizon, or a mixed species canopy flock lands in a treetop right next to you. Like, it's just incredible. In the evenings, biologists or community locals will offer interesting ecotourism lectures that you can sit in on. So the next day, we will go searching for the resident family of giant river otters and other wildlife such as caiman, hoatzin, and horned screamers. We take the boat downriver to Tres Chimbadas Lake, where you will paddle around the lake on a catamaran. Now, it's not a fancy catamaran like you would think you would take at home. In the top left-hand corner, you'll see the catamaran. And yeah, it's definitely not what you would think, but the fancy catamaran is. So it's definitely you're getting a taste of the local culture there. So after we paddle around the lake looking for those giant river otters, we will visit Centro Nape, a communal organization that produces medicines out of Amazon forest plants, and they administer them to patients who choose their little clinic. So you can take a stroll down a trail and learn about the different medicinal uses for these plants. And then in the evening, take an optional hike with a local guide. So a night hike, which is kind of fun because this is when most of the mammals are active but rarely seen. More likely you'll see frogs and different kinds of bugs and that kind of thing. And you'll hear all kinds of neat sounds from the deep within the jungle. So the next morning, we will take a short walk to a blind where we'll actually see, hopefully, dozens of parrots and parakeets at the clay lake where they ingest the clay. Later, we'll head out on a hike crowned by the largest tree in the vicinity, a giant ceiba tree. During the hike, we'll focus on the natural history of the rainforest, so that'll be really interesting. After lunch, we take a boat downriver to a local farm, and here the owner grows a diverse variety of popular and unknown Amazon crops. In his garden, just about every plant and tree serve a purpose. The next day, we retrace our steps and travel upriver to Puerto Mandaldo before flying into Lima for our last night. So we want to make the most of our last day while we're in Peru. The morning is at leisure, or you can join your tour director for a walking tour to see some of the highlights of the Miraflores area. And as Cindy mentioned, a must stop is Manolo's. They have the most delicious churros, and don't take my word for it. Just you and try them. And if anyone is feeling kind, I would love to have some. So make sure you bring me some back. So in the afternoon, after you've had your lovely breakfast of churros, we get to be acquainted with the rich and regal history of Lima on a city tour. So a local guide will take us on a walking tour around the historical center. And the historical center is actually considered a World Heritage Site protected by UNESCO since 1991. And that's because of all the colonial buildings the city has. Lima also stands as one of the oldest capital cities in South America, as it was founded by the Spaniards in 1535 and became the city of the kings. You will see some of the palaces and castles the city has, such as the Archbishop's Palace, the City Hall, and the cathedral. We will also visit the St. Francisco Monastery and the impressive underground catacombs, which are actually pretty cool. You go underneath the church and you'll see the catacombs with all the bones laid out in order, and it's actually quite interesting. So after we've done the city tour and you've explored the city, we enjoy a lovely dinner to celebrate your last evening. Then we will see a magic water show and laser dance show. which actually holds the Guinness Book of World Records for the largest fountain complex in the world. It displays 13 different fountains, many of which are interactive. And all the fountains are illuminated at night and are synchronized with classic and Peruvian music that make this fountain sparkle and shine as the water flows in unique patterns and shapes. And with that, all good things must come to an end. And we transfer to the airport for your flight home. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Cindy and we will get to some of your questions.
Well, thanks, Leanne. Well, before we get into those questions, I just want to thank everyone for spending the evening with us this evening, and hope you can continue to join us on our presentation series. We hope you found this presentation informative and interesting, and we will be following up with you with an email in a couple of days that will have a link to the itinerary for this tour. And you can also visit our website at westworldtours.com for more information on this tour, or our link up for our other tours. You can contact us by visiting our website, as I mentioned, westworldtours.com. You can send us a quick email. We can reach us at information@westworldtours.com. You can also visit us on Facebook, or you can certainly get in touch with your local travel agent. Recorded presentations are listed on our website as well. We do record these online presentations, and our library, if you can call it a library, is available on our website as well. So now let's get to some of your questions. Leanne, what have we got out there for some questions?
Okay. You guys are quiet tonight. No questions for us.
I'm surprised.
Making our job easy here.
Yeah, Leanne, I know that you did mention, quite often about the high altitude. So is there anything in particular that somebody can do to help prepare them a little bit better for high altitude, other than just, the cold tea? What recommendations would you have for anybody?
Right. So for this tour specifically, you do want to talk to and any tour that you're traveling outside of the country, you do want to talk to your doctor and the travel health clinic about what kind of shots, vaccinations, different things like that you might need. Specifically for this tour with the high altitude, you will want to talk to your doctor about getting altitude sickness medication for this trip. You can get it easily from your pharmacy with a prescription from your doctor, and take that along with you. I would recommend, and your doctor will be able to give you the dosage and all that kind of stuff if you choose to go that route. But I would recommend taking it at the beginning of the trip, the first several days while we're quite a high altitude. By the time we get to the second half of the trip, you will be acclimatized. So acute mountain sickness, which is altitude sickness, affects everyone differently, regardless of your fitness level or age. So, you could be in top shape and you could get sick. So there's not really anything you can do to prepare your body for it. Everyone is different. Right. I didn't really feel a huge amount of altitude sickness when I was there. I did take altitude sickness pills. You do get a little bit of a headache, that kind of thing, but drinking water really helps. Getting good night's sleep, limiting your alcohol obviously will help as well. The coca tea is said to help as well, and all the hotels will have that in their lobbies. Okay. All the restaurants, you'll be able to order coca tea, and so that's said to help, and many of the locals swear by it. So yeah, other than that, well,
I see that Colleen,
just take care of yourself.
Yeah, Colleen has asked a question about daytime temperatures, Leanne. What could we expect in April? I know obviously depending on the altitude, the temperatures are going to range, from, let's say, Lake Titicaca compared to Lima. But what would your temperatures be? And of course, weather.
Right. So I went in April as well. So like you said, the high mountain passes are going to be cool. So you will want to dress in layers. I'm just looking to see if I have it. So during this time frame, Arequipa will be, highs of 24 degrees Celsius, lows of 10. Puno will be cooler for sure,
Mhm.
because it
Mhm.
is very high. So like highs of 15 during the day. So it'll be comfortable for paddling, which is great because you don't want to be, too hot. Lows of
Mhm.
-1. We never saw that. It was comfortable the whole time, especially when you're at the altitude and being a little bit more active. So Lima is going to be warmer as well. You're on the coast with the, warmer weather there. Amazon rainforest, you're going to be warm. Highs of 32, lows of 20, so it'll be nice and comfortable there. Cuzco, Machu Picchu, between 25 degrees with lows of between, 4 and 11 degrees Celsius. So you do have a wide range of temperatures to pack for, but layers definitely, especially on the Inca Trail. The morning will be cool because you're traveling or you're hiking so early. And then once the sun comes out and it warms up, you will want to be able to remove those layers. Once you warm up from the hike too. So yeah, definitely pack in layers and make sure to bring, your bathing suit for the hot springs. The Amazon, you want, shorts and things like that. But yeah, definitely layers, some good walking shoes. You don't need hiking shoes for this tour, but a good supportive running shoe is definitely something you want when we're doing all the walking we do on this tour. So
And we definitely send and include in our documents packing
yeah,
list, a recommended packing list, that kind of
yeah,
goes
for
over the
sure.
things that Leanna has just mentioned. And so that is included as well. And we
Yeah.
do have a question here as well from Lynn. What kind of currency is used over in Peru? That's a great question.
Yeah, so the US currency is widely accepted. The Peru currency is, I'm slipping my mind right now.
Oh, mine too, right off the
It's
top
the
of my head.
sol, the Peruvian sol. But I would just take US dollars. They're widely accepted in the tourist areas that we're traveling to. And it's easy. A lot of the restaurants price in US dollars as well. So, and once you're there, you can exchange it. It's really easy to exchange money while you're there, at the airports, at banks. So you can do that. Some of the more remote places like Aguas Calientes, maybe even the Amazon Lodge. There won't be much to buy at the Amazon Lodge because it's all included. But yeah,
Mhm.
you may want to buy or get some local currency for souvenirs and things like that. But US dollars for sure is widely accepted, even with the souvenir, the little setups.
Okay.
So yeah, and credit cards are also widely accepted. So when you're in the big cities and at a restaurant, you can definitely use your credit card, so you don't need to worry about that.
We do have another question here from Joan. And how strenuous is the trek? She said the trip looks fantastic, and this is the only part that it causes her some
Mhm.
concern. So,
Mhm.
can you address that one, Leah?
I can. So, well, I haven't done the 104 kilometer. I did the 4 day, which is it's challenging. It really tested tested me. The 1 day is not as hard. There is definitely steep sections. Like it's not a walk in the park. You are going to challenge yourself, but it's 1 day. It's 6 kilometers up, and you can do it. I seen an article when I was researching for my personal trip of a quite large person, and she was bound and determined that she was going to do it, and she did it. And it really can be for anybody. You just have to put your mind to it, and like I said, it's not a race. There's no time limit on this. You take your time. You stop for breaks often. You stop for water, and just look around, enjoy the beautiful scenery. So you definitely can do it. Prior to going myself with the 4 day trail, I would actually throw a backpack on with a bunch of weight in it, and I would walk around the town that I live in, and I would do that a few times a week. Do some treadmill walking on an incline and that kind of thing. But you can definitely do it, and we are provided with walking sticks, which greatly help. So it's definitely doable. Yeah.
And it adds to the reward, the reward
Yeah,
at
for
the
sure.
end of making it to Machu Picchu. It's a little bit of a challenge, and
Yes.
you're
Yeah,
rewarded in the end. Yeah, absolutely.
exactly. When you get to the Sun Gate and you see Machu Picchu, like
It's
you just,
amazing.
this is what you just,
You made
worked
it.
your butt off for.
Yeah, you made it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And you feel really accomplished. And so I think anyone can do it. You just got to put your mind to it.
Yeah. And then again, like you said, it's not a race. It's a full day getting to the top.
Yeah.
It's not a race. You take your time, you go slow, you enjoy the way, rest a little bit, stop for lunch, and carry on. And after lunch, it's pretty much you're on more of a downhill climb then.
Yeah, once you get to the lunch spot, the Winnewina, it's pretty easy going from there. So it's just that first little bit that you're gonna,
feel the
think,
challenge.
why did I do this? But no, it's definitely a rewarding experience. So I would encourage anyone to do it. You can do it.
Awesome. Well, we do have another
Yeah.
question here from Lynn. What about computer charging for your cameras, your phones, chargers? Are chargers available? That type of thing. So obviously that would be something that is included in that packing list we were talking about earlier.
Yeah. So that's all included. If I remember correctly, you just needed an adapter for the outlets. But if you have like an iPhone charger, you could still use the USB if they had them. Some of the hotels had USB ports that you could just stick your thing into rather than using the plug-in. But I believe you didn't need a currency or a power converter. It was just the plug. But that will all be included with your documents and pre-document to provide.
Okay, thanks, Leanne. We also have another question from Kelly. What kind of bugs are there? Example, mosquitoes, etc.
Yeah.
I think
So,
maybe you might have got her asking after you talked about the flu.
So the bugs that I was referring to, you don't really see them during the day. They were attracted from the light in the evening when we would use the washroom. But there will be mosquitoes in the Amazon. So that is something else you want to talk to your doctor about, whether, malaria pills might be something you want to consider. And then there might be a few other things that your travel health clinic might, recommend. There are no vaccines required for entering Peru at this time, but it doesn't hurt to talk to your health care provider and the travel health clinic, and they can provide you with the recommendations and then you can make an informed decision from there.
Yeah, other than vaccinations required would be perhaps the COVID-19 vaccination.
Well, yes. Yeah. Now I guess. Yeah. The COVID. COVID.
That darn COVID.
So, I did see another question here from Lynn asking about couples tours to Peru. So right now, Lynn, we don't actually have any Westworld tours that travel to Peru, but that is something that we are going to be looking into within the next couple of years. So stay tuned for that, and hopefully we can get you on with your spouse.
Was there any questions on Facebook, Leanne? I haven't checked the Facebook to see if there was any questions there.
Let me see here. I don't see any here.
We did miss one here. It says, what COVID-19 vaccine is recognized in Peru?
That I don't know.
we
That
can
is
check
something
into.
that, yeah, we'll check into that and we'll let you know. That would be something that we would include in your documents as well. But I don't know that off the top of my head.
And you could certainly
And we are
email
still
us and give
quite a
us an
ways away too.
opportunity
So yeah,
to answer that question for you.
yeah. I see Arlene here just makes a comment that she traveled to Peru and it's one of her favorite countries out of 25 that she visited. She said, ladies, buy a sweater, you won't be disappointed. She
Awesome.
bought some homemade dolls out the window of the train on the way to Machu Picchu, and Sexy Woman was an emotional experience. And I totally agree. These sweaters are very good quality. They're super soft, and there's so many different patterns and styles and colors to choose from. There's blankets, there's toques, there's socks, there's everything. So it's kind of a nice little souvenir alpaca wool.
Okay. Well, we do have another question.
Whatever.
Another question here. Sorry, Leanne, from Linda.
No, that's
She's
okay.
asking, is this tour only for women or both women and men? This particular tour is in our Women Explorers division, and it is designed specifically for women only tour. And as Leanne did mention, Westworld Tours currently doesn't have a tour for both women and men to Peru, but that is coming, and it will probably come in the next couple of years.
Yeah. So yeah, stay tuned for that. We'll
Yeah.
hopefully get something lined up for Westworld Tours for women and men to enjoy Peru.
Yeah. And it looks like, unless there was more on Facebook or comments there, Leanne.
No, I don't see any here. So.
All right. Well, I really want to thank again everybody for joining us this evening. And Leanne, thank you so much for sharing the Peru tour with us and your love of Peru and churros. And definitely, if I get there, I will promise to bring you some home.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you all for joining us. And it's really fun when we can talk about these exciting destinations. So thanks again for joining us.
It's all right, everyone. Have a great evening.